Good evening, Titan Nation. How's everybody doing? Welcome to a very quick and special edition I like to call Titans in Truth Extra. And I'm your man Chris, aka Blue and Force. I'm just getting my camera together and just wanted to give a quick reaction to the news of the day. Mike Mularkey and the Tennessee Titans have agreed to part ways. And Mike Mularkey basically has been fired as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. They agreed to part ways after they could not come to an agreement on the contract extension conditions that Mike Mularkey was going to be offered. I have to admit, I know I was kind of on the horse saying that Mike Mularkey might should have been fired because of Terry Robisky. And if you've been listening to the show, I've been saying this repeatedly for the last 3 weeks that this could be the case where Mike Mularkey gets fired. This will be the only reason that Mike Mularkey would no longer be the coach of the Tennessee Titans, and that was if John Robinson comes to him and says, we're willing to extend you, but you got to let go of Terry Robisky. Obviously, that's exactly what happened. Mike Mularkey refused to let go of his offensive coordinator and stay loyal to his coaches. And basically, John Robinson said, if it's either Robisky goes or you got to go. Mularkey chose Robisky. Mularkey got canned. Plain and simple with that. Now, I know there are going to be some of you that have commented to me. Some have commented to me that said, that you really like this move, that Mike Mularkey, should have been fired. Thank goodness. And I know some others are saying that he shouldn't have been fired, should have been given another shot, for continuity, and, don't want to have to do any changing and things like that. But let me break down exactly why I think this was the right move for the Tennessee Titans, in my opinion. Now, I agree with a lot of you. I agree with some of you that Mike Mularkey did a very good job. Without a doubt. I agree with that. He did a very good job. He took this team from the lowly depths of being the laughing stock of the NFL and brought us to a little bit of respectability. He had us 9-7, in his first year, official year, and then, just missing the playoffs. And then this year we finished 9-7 again, but we make the playoffs and even win our first playoff game in 14 years. Now, so I agree with that. I think he did a lot of good, really good guy. I liked Mularkey as a guy a lot, and I thought he was a pretty good coach. However, I just didn't think Mike Mularkey would be the guy that could take us to a championship level. And that was something that John Robinson said a lot in his press conference today. He said, he was dedicated to bringing a championship home to Nashville. And so he mentioned that repeatedly as far as bringing a championship. And Titan Anderson, what's up, man? How's it going? He talked about bringing in a championship. He talked about evolving. He was talking about, the development of Marcus Mariota and, somebody that can, develop and evolve and be willing to adapt to today's NFL standards. And that was something that it sounded like Mike Mularkey was not willing to do. I mean, it came out last night that the Titans offered a contract extension to Mike Mularkey. DeAndre, what's up? Blue Fire, my brother, And, the thing is that, John Robinson, again, talked about adaptation and, being more evolving. And those were things that I think that Mike Mularkey was not willing to do. And and even Mike Mularkey said it in his own press conference last night. He said in his own press conference last night, he basically said, that he thought that the coaches all did a very, very good job. Terry Robisky did a very good job. I'm satisfied with him. He was satisfied with the development of Marcus Mariota, and he didn't anticipate making any coaching changes. That right there sealed Mike Mularkey's fate when he said those words. He was not anticipating making coaching changes, which basically he was saying to the general public, I'm happy with the status quo. I'm happy with where we are right now, and the way that we have it going right now is the way I'm going into next year. That wasn't going to cut it. And I honestly was thinking, if you're saying that you're fine with the status quo, you were not going to make any changes, you were not going to fire Terry Robisky, and in a lot of people's eyes, that was a fireable offense, because there is no way you are going to be able to sell to this fan base Mike Mularkey and Terry Robisky coming back, because you're basically saying the exact same offense and mediocrity you saw this past year, that's what we're bringing next year. He felt so strong that what they were doing worked when it didn't. And he wasn't willing to change. He wasn't willing to adapt. And I know a lot of you are afraid of change. I know some of you think it's just comfortable to stay with continuity. But the NFL is ever revolving. Yes, about 20 years ago, it was a league where you run the ball, and you barely passed. But now it is a passing league. It is a quarterback-driven league. And Mike Mularkey was not willing to adapt to that. Robisky was not willing to adapt to that. I mean, did y'all see our offense this year? It was very archaic. It was very old school, which I mean, I have nothing against old school. And Brandon, you're absolutely right. He was stubborn to change his play style. Titan Anderson, I don't think it had to do with the new uniforms, although it is good to bring out a fresh new look. I mean, it was very old school, very old-fashioned, very geriatric, very pre-1920s, pre-World War I type of offense. That's not going to cut it in this league. Plus, again, he was not willing to adapt and evolve. And, you know, just because everything worked, and Shane, you're absolutely right. The play style held him back. He could progress next year. I agree with that. Because that's the thing that's happening, is that you went into this year basically saying, well, what worked last year, everything that worked last year will work exactly the same way this year. And the problem was, while you were not making any changes or tweaks, other teams were. And other defensive coordinators and defensive coaches on other teams that you were playing, they figured you out. They looked at film of you and said, okay, shut down the running game. We could eventually shut down the Titans. We know they're not going to do a lot of passing, and we know they're not going to let Marcus Mariota beat us. So if we shut down the run, which they're just too stubborn to do, hey, we're going to stop that. We're going to dedicate to stopping the run. And that's exactly what a lot of defenses did. They stacked the box. They gave it 7, 8 men in the box. And they did not allow Marcus Mariota control of the offense to where he could change plays when he sees that there's 7 or 8 in the box and they know we're going to run the ball. And so that was the problem that I think led to Mike Mularkey's demise. It had nothing to do with the wins. It had nothing to do with the success that he had or the culture that he brought in. It was because he was not willing to change. He was not willing to make moves. He was not willing to show Robisky the door, and that's why they showed him the door. So that's the main reason that it happened. And, you know, I think it's time for some fresh blood because you know, I was listening to this on A to Z Sports with Austin and Zach this morning, and that's where we heard the news. And my first shock was, wow, JR actually did that. And then I had to go and, of course, get my confirmations. Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport all came in and confirmed it. And they were talking about it on SportsCenter and NFL Network, so it was pretty much a done deal. And This is now a chance for the Tennessee Titans to start fresh. It is a chance for the Tennessee Titans, for John Robinson, to get his guy, the guy that he wants as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. Right now, of course, reports have come out that Mike Vrabel, the defensive coordinator of the Houston Texans, will interview for the job. Of course, he was a former player in New England when John Robinson was there. Not really excited about that particular call. I don't think he's experienced enough to be a head coach. Right now, he's only been a defensive coordinator 1 year. And he's been on staff probably as a linebackers coach, but I don't know if he's ready to be a head coach, even though their defense was not very good when J.J. Watt and Whitney Merciless went out and you had no A.J. Bouye. But also just came out about maybe 30 minutes ago, and Shane, you're right. John Robinson wants to win championships, not have average seasons. He mentioned that a lot in his press conference. Another name that just came out within about the last hour was Rams offensive coordinator Matt LaFleur. Is going to be interviewing for the job on Thursday for the head coaching job. Now that one, I'm a little intrigued by that because it is an offensive mind. He worked with Sean McVay in Washington. He also worked under Kyle Shanahan in Washington as a quarterback's coach, and also in Atlanta as a quarterback's coach while Kyle Shanahan was offensive coordinator. So he has experience with guys like Kirk Cousins and Matt Ryan, and also Jared Goff helped turn his year around. So I think that's pretty intriguing. Now, he's never called plays before, so that is a concern. But, he's 38 years old. He's worked with quarterbacks throughout his coaching tenure. He did some coaching in college at some lower schools, but he did work with quarterbacks. I think he did a couple of years with a wide receiver. Was also offensive coordinator at a college. And so he has a lot of experience working with quarterbacks. So that is very key. Now, again, Mike Vrabel, he's worked a lot with linebackers, and this was his first year as defensive coordinator of the Texans. So I don't know about that, but we'll see as time goes on. We'll see some more names come up. Some other names I've been hearing, obviously, John DeFilippo of the Eagles, the quarterback's coach, Frank Reich, the offensive coordinator in Philadelphia. Of course, he was a quarterback that, Titan fans or Oilers fans will remember. He was the guy that led the comeback for Buffalo in the biggest disaster in playoff history by our franchise. Of course, Matt Patricia looks like he's heading to Detroit. As of right now, it looks like Josh McDaniels is heading to Indy, and Pat Shurmur, the offensive coordinator of the Vikings, looks like he's heading to New York. I would say another name to watch out for, Jim Schwartz, the defensive coordinator in Philly. He has a house here. He was former defensive coordinator of the Titans, and he was defensive coordinator when we had our best years defensively. Brandon, thank you for bringing his name up. Steve Wilkes, defensive coordinator in Carolina. He was a good secondary coach. So he was there when Josh Norman was having some good years and, had that defense, and they finished top 10 the last 5 years with him on the staff. And he's already come out and rumored to have DeFilippo as his offensive coordinator if he gets hired as a head coach. So, I could see that happen as well. And that would satisfy the Rooney Rule for a minority candidate, and he would at least be a candidate that would get some serious consideration. Now, a dark horse name that I am shocked that I haven't heard many people talking about, but I wouldn't be surprised this come up. Jim Bob Cooter, the offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. I have not heard his name be linked to any jobs. He's 33 years old, very, very young offensive coordinator. Of course, worked with Matt Stafford and has helped him have some of his best years. So he's a very good offensive mind, very young, a very fresh mind. So I think he could be a dark horse. But we're going to see what's happening in times going forward. There will be a show on Wednesday. Of course, I'll talk a little bit more about this coaching change and try to start looking at an outlook on the on this past year and get into the offseason. Again, get me nominations for Two-Tone Blue Star of the Year and Dunce of the Year besides Terry Robisky, the obvious choice. And I'll have that coming up. Get me some questions for Pick My Brain. Excuse me. And I don't think I'm going to have a Blue Bombshell question yet. I'll probably put something out like that tomorrow. But I just wanted to give my quick thoughts on what I thought about this turn of events with the head coach, and we'll have more as more names show up. But this is going to be John Robinson's hire now. So whoever the head coach is, it's going to be tied to John Robinson now. If this coach does not succeed, then we're going to be looking at John Robinson incorrect. And so, that's what we're talking about. Rodney, you'll definitely be able to go back and check this out. I'm just giving a thought about, Mike Mularkey parting ways with the team and looking at who could be the guy going forward for this franchise. So, guys, I'm finna get out of here. I'm finna get ready to hit the gym, get my workout in, and we'll get ready for the show Wednesday night. We'll talk more about this turn of events, who we might be looking at as the next head coach, and also the outlook from this past season. And, we'll be starting to look towards next season, the draft, what I think might be some needs and, what we could do with the 25th pick of the draft. So, guys, I thank y'all for looking in, for tuning in. Enjoy the show. Share this out to everybody. Subscribe to the channel, please. I want over 200 followers by the end of this month. I'm going to holler at y'all. Titans and Truth, I'm out.